What's going on, Badger Nation? I'm here on a walk at beautiful Pace Bend Trailhead just outside of Austin, Texas. I'm doing some bouldering on the side of a cliff face. They have deep water here where you're able to climb on solid limestone, and it's a great place to climb safely without gear, because if you fall right into deep water. And I want to take a quick break from that and share some thoughts about the climb that is growing sales on Amazon. One kind of conversation that I've had recently is the question, how does one actually grow sales on Amazon? And my friends, I found this to be more of a mindset than it is a process. And I'll share some of that mindset here for you and some of that process, meaning it's important to work with the end in mind for each chapter of your product's life cycle. And it is just like climbing a ladder. Let me explain. Imagine you have a list of all the products that are competitors of yours, and you have all of them sorted from greatest sales to least sales. And somewhere on that ladder, if you're launching and it's day one, you're at the bottom of the ladder. If it's a long-standing product, you might be somewhere in the middle. A fresh new product or an aged product, you are somewhere on that ladder. And I want to talk to those products that are not sales rank 1. What you generally find on this ladder is that the top product does the overwhelming majority of sales. Product 2 does maybe 10% less. Product 3 does 10% less of that. Product 4 might do 20% less of product 3. Product 5 might do 20% less than product 4. You might have products 5 through 10 all being somewhat close. Products 10 through 20 being somewhere close. And by the time you get past product 30, you're looking at products that potentially do less than $10,000 a month in sales. It's the sales ladder. It's a classic 80-20, where 80% of all the sales from your competition are concentrated in the top 20% of products. So those top 20% of products do 80% of the sales. And if you were to look at those top 20% of products, 80% of their sales are also concentrated in the top 20%. So again, if there's 100 competitors, that means the top 20 products are doing 80% of the sales for the entire niche. And then of those top 20 products, it is very likely that the top 4 do 80% of the top sales. So it compounds this 80-20 effect. I'm looking at a niche right now that has 850,000 total sales for the past month. The top product did 15% of sales, or 137. The second product did 122,000, or 14% of sales. The third, we dropped 50%. So the third only did 7% of sales at 62,000, and the fourth did 7% of sales, also at 62,000. By the time I got to my product, the 8th product, we were looking at just 2.7% of sales with 23,000 sales a month. That 2.7%, of course, is of 850,000 total sales. So 23,000 sales for my product represents 2.7 of the total sales for the entire niche this last month. So if I'm at 8th position, and you can think about one of your products, doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter if you have 1 or 100 or 10,000, when you focus in on a singular product and you ask yourself, if I'm at 8th position of the ladder, which is quite high, my friends, you are in the top 20% of products for this particular niche. However, we want to move to the top 20% of the top 20%. We want to be in position 4. The question becomes, how do you get from position 8 to position 4, where competitors are doing much more sales than I am? So just by moving from position 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4, I'm more than doubling my sales from about 20,000 all the way up to 62,000. So how do I get into the 4th spot? This is where the concept of a ladder comes in. And it doesn't matter if you're in the 8th spot or the 80th spot, the process is the same essentially. What you do is you look on the ladder a couple rungs above you and you ask yourself, what is that person doing? What is that product doing that I am not doing? And specifically, I'm looking at keyword profiles. What are the characteristics of keywords that they rank for that I do not? This is usually my first entry point into understanding this. How do I reverse engineer my way to the 4th sales spot from the 8th? How do I get 7% of sales? What are they doing that I'm not. The first thing I'll do is I'll do a reverse ASIN lookup of the top product, the fourth product, and myself. So I usually do this with 3 or 4 products. I almost always include the very top product. I almost always include someone who's a couple rungs above me. This sort of 3 times sales than I am, I would say, is pretty dramatic, but we are starting to go from the 8th spot to the 4th spot, so it gets higher very quickly. So comparing 3 products with a reverse ASIN, lining all of us up, you can see the keyword profile that each company has. I can see how my keyword profile is different than the 4th position and the 1st position. You want to study this keyword profile. And what you'll want to do is try to copy and emulate a few notches up on the ladder. Now, the 8th spot to the 4th spot is a big leap in sales. So I would look at it and I would try to find my way in to mirroring, exceeding, improving my keyword profile to make it look more like the 4th seller in this case. What can I do to get there? The keywords that I specifically want to look for are strike zone opportunity keywords. These are keywords that I'm close to ranking for. These are keywords where maybe meaningful sales happen for this position number 4 competitor. Maybe meaningful sales are happening for them and they're at position 2 and I'm at position 6. That's a big drop off of sales. So I might look at that and I might ask myself, what would I need to do to move up in this keyword's organic rankings? Because it's generally easier to move that distance than it is to go from position 100 to position 8. So I'd be looking for ideas to basically zoom in on this list. So as I have this comparison profile of the next rung up the ladder compared to my current position for all of these keywords, what I want to do is narrow down the list. The first thing that I'll do is find things that I'm almost in a great position for. Like I'm almost close to surpassing the person above me. A really easy way to do this is to use search query data. Still to this day, an absolute goldmine of data, because what it will do is it will tell you what specific keywords you have a higher than market click-through rate and conversion rate. And that is where I would begin. These are generally easy to bid on. These are terms that usually generate a good amount of sales. And these are generally terms because you have a higher than market conversion rate, you have an unfair advantage. So you need to lean into that. So I might optimize titles, bid aggressively in my PPC campaigns to work through and improve my keyword profile. And then once I am improving my keyword profile, I will look on the ladder again and repeat this exercise. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to reverse ASIN the person above you on the ladder and look at search query data and combine these two. There's lots of activities I've done on this very show where I've talked about how to utilize search query data. We have a big checklist of all of our episodes. You can go and find all of these search query episodes we've had. But I would work that search query data in this context to try to find keywords that I'm in the strike zone for. Because if I'm in the strike zone and I have a great better than market conversion rate, that is the perfect conditions to improve ranking with a more aggressive sponsored product, top of search campaign. The other considerations that you'll also need to make is what are the characteristics of that product? This is where great brands are separated from mediocre brands, meaning you need to evaluate your pricing value proposition. You need to look at your product page design compared to the person above you on the ladder. This is where brand price testing can come in. It means sometimes introducing product variations that meet the needs of the sales ladder. The best brands I work with are constantly iterating their product families. They know that there are market conditions that give you a tailwind. It's possible that it's just the size of the product is able to offer at a certain price and the market just loves that a lot more than your product. Maybe it's a different size with a different price point and the market is potentially telling you that people wanted the smaller size at a cheaper price and they don't necessarily want a bigger size at a bigger price. You need to find those tailwinds and you need to lean into them as well. And this is more than just growing a product. This is true growing a business. So my friends, increasing sales is a lot of the same activity. What the sales ladder keyword profiling activity does is allow you to chart that course. Your competition's above you. And whether they did it intentionally or unintentionally, what you're doing is reverse engineering the success. You are saying, I'm at position 8, they're at position 4. and this is what I need to do in order to scale. My friends, thanks so much for tuning in to the PPC Then podcast. I'll see you next week here on the show. Bye-bye.
I've launched campaigns and picked keywords. I've got my bids, set placements too. Now bad mistakes.